final, of course. Well, Gian van Veen with a pretty good opening week. The World Championship runner-up in Newcastle. Lost to Michael van Gerwyn, having beaten Littler and then Clayton, and to be honest, that was all whilst not really getting close to his best. Average just under 95 for the night. Is finishing not as high as it normally is either, but 3 points on the board and a very good debut. So can he push on? Can he add more points? Gerwyn Price, meanwhile, looking to, well, get his first points of the campaign, having picked up none on the opening night. It was defeat to Luke Humphreys for him in the quarterfinals. Since then, he's made a final on the Pro Tour. That was on Tuesday. Lost to Wessel Nyman in that final. Had some crazy stats throughout the day, though. So a man in form, no doubt about it. But let's see how he fares against another Dutchman here. The head-to-head record bodes well for Price. 9 previous meetings, and it's 8 wins for the Iceman. So let's see how meeting number 10 goes in the company of Laura Turner and Rod Studd.
Thank you, Emma. Yes, an extraordinary evening's arrows already. First game was an absolute barn burner. The second match could be described by a wide variety of impolite adjectives. And the last match was the quintessential game of two halves as Clayton came back to beat Bunting. I can't profess to have a clue what might happen in quarter-final 4, but I know someone who will tell us precisely what will happen, and that person is Laura Turner.
Well, no pressure there then, Rod, but interesting. Emma just mentioned their 8-1 in favour of Gerwyn Price in terms of their head-to-head stats, but I've been listening to Van Veen and he said he actually found Gerwyn Price quite intimidating to play, especially at the start. Didn't know how to react to the big reactions. He subsequently did get that one win. It was a 6-0 victory over in Prague. So for me, it's a match that could go either way. But Price, he's the one really fighting for the points at the moment.
Well, a change of walk-on cheer for Gerwyn Price tonight. Vanilla Ice restored, Jerry Cinnamon ditched. I don't know if that's a temporary change or whether it's going to be permanent back to Ice, Ice, baby. Will it be Price, Price, baby tonight? Can Gerwyn get off the mark for the Prem in 2026? Van Veen blowing early here, the World Championship runner-up, a player on the up.
34.
Well, not quite a maximum, but first opportunity here for Price, and actually one you feel he might have to take.
73.
A missed double 11. I think Van Veen would have been quite happy to hit the 140 because it leaves him this preferred double. Off the back of the single 16, the double is hit. And the talented young Dutchman strikes first.
And he really is a player, isn't he? Year on year, when we've seen him getting better and better. Picked up that major title, the European Championships, back in 2025. Runner-up to Luke Littler at the recent World Championships.
140.
Well, that was a visit save of that third dart, and it still gives him a little bit of breathing space on Price, especially if he goes up trebleless here.
He does manage to pick one off, but advantage still very much in favour of Van Veen.
To leave 80 after a dozen darts and the prospective 14 darter again.
Can you require 8?
Another single leaves the double. It would be a 15 dart leg if successful. And Gian van Veen goes 2 up on the former world champ.
Well, no issues with the finishing so far for Van Veen. 2 from 2.
Well, those head-to-head stats have raised a lot of eyebrows. 8-1 to Gerwyn Price to repeat. But it may well just be a function of the place they are in their careers, with Van Veen still in the early stages of his. And Price certainly having been right at the top of his game and the top of the world with those early meetings were contested. And you would think, Laura, that it would start to even itself out where they are now in their careers.
I do agree. I do. And Van Veen, he's kind of trying to draw on the fact that he knows now how to get past Gerwyn Price. He knows how to deal with the big noise, the roars. And I guess the easiest thing is just to keep him at bay.
But there seems to be less roaring going on in the Gerwyn Price game plan at this moment in time. Seems a little calmer. Treble needed, finds it. To leave a pop at the top of the shop. Can't get it there. Ought to be back. Might be back. Will be back.
140.
Price has been restricted to just a couple of darts at double, but third time the charm.
He missed match darts against Humphries last week in Newcastle, though it should be noted Humphries had first pop at a match start, and then he missed a match start to beat Littler in the Masters in Milton Keynes, so making a little bit of a habit of missing match starts against elite level opponents.
136.
And you cannot afford to let these kind of blokes off the hook.
We saw it in that opening match between Littler and Luke Humphries. Slipping that deciding leg from Humphries and offered up a chance, and it was taken by Littler.
57.
Another big match in which Humphries was odds-on favourite in running against Littler, but couldn't seal the deal. Happened in the Masters, happened in the Grand Slam of Darts final also, and tonight here in Antwerp on night 2 of the 26th Prem.
56.
Visit from Van Veen. Once again down to a 3-dart after 12, but Gerwyn Price finds the first maximum.
It could be a significant one, or it could be completely and utterly irrelevant. Double 16 will make it irrelevant. The coolest of customers. A real body blow for the Welshman, because he had every right to believe that Maxi had set up a leg-winning chance. It didn't.
140.
No 180s, Laura, for Van Veen, but have a look at the other ton plus visits. 6 ton 40 plus and 5 ton plus. So heavy scoring without the flashy Maxi.
No, but for me, the key element so far from Van Veen is that 3 from 3 on the finishes, including combination finishes of a 112 and an 80. When he's been allowed a chance, he's just shut down Gerwyn Price, hasn't let him back to the board.
Well, a leg here, the 5th of the match of a possible 11, which is, you feel, far more important to Price than Van Veen. It's on the Price throwing it. If he was to be broken again here, he'd be 4-1 down with Van Veen throwing it. You'd think that's pretty close to all she wrote. But if he can hold on, he can get to attack Van Veen and get right back into the match.
Yeah, I agree. We saw an epic comeback from Johnny Clayton in the previous match. Johnny Clayton waiting in the wings to see who he'll be facing.
Important double 5. Yes, at the moment Stephen Bunting seems to be in the kind of space where he's struggling to win a game from almost any position. 2-0 up last week to Van Gerwen, got beat. 4-0 up against Clayton this week and got beat. Just feel he needs the equivalent of a striker who's on a goal drought to have one going off his backside. Just needs to find some sort of win, because tonight he was clean through one-on-one on the goalkeeper and couldn't finish. Van Veen can certainly finish there. Price got close after 5 legs back within 1, but Van Veen keeping him at arm's length here with the heavy artillery.
In fairness, is all he really has to do, because he got that early breaker throw in the very first leg. He can just hold his own, then he'll be through to the semi-final.
We usually think that the most important legs are right at the end of a best of 11, but it could well be, Laura, as you rightly point out, that the most important leg of this match could be the very first. 62 to stretch 2 clear again. Choice of double, but I suspect 20 for double 16. Cool as you like. 4 out of 4 on the double. And if that continues, the only way the Iceman can get back into this contest is by denying Van Veen any darts at double.
And that's been the problem. He's been matched or outscored so far, Gerwyn Price, in the match. He's managing to hold on when he's going first. It very much feels like it's in Van Veen's hand, and Gerwyn Price just hanging on his coattails.
Van Veen beat Littler in Newcastle, and where we are now, and the state of the matches and the state of the draw as we stand, Van Veen v Littler again in a final is very much a possibility. Probably, arguably, the most likely final at this stage, if you were to ask odds makers.
Van Veen still with some work to do. It was a bit of a disastrous visit previously for Gerwyn Price, who could only look to the heavens and wonder what's happening.
Can you require 152?
We'll not get another dart at double here, but we'll leave it very handy.
Well,
he was happy to leave double 6 if a treble had been hit. Price needed another treble, the treble 19. Will leave 10 now. Van Veen with his favoured double 16 to go within 1. Misses his first dart at double of the night and his second, and so maybe there is a glimmer of hope here. Although it is on the Price throw, so let's not get too carried away. Oh, double 10. Clings on.
Big last dart from Gerwyn Price. A little bit of interaction with the crowd, but not happy with how he's playing.
But again, it was simply a bit of pantomime muscle flexing rather than the normal go on or booyah, wasn't it? So the absence of booyah tends to suggest to me that there isn't the full Gerwyn Price turbocharged confidence on show tonight.
Either that or he's feeling that he hasn't given himself too much to cheer for.
Perhaps a sore throat. In any regard, he needs the break somewhere. It will have to come in this leg 8, or in leg 10. He has no further opportunities beyond that. So he's got to find something now.
You really feel it is now, because Van Veen's had a couple of visits, no big trebles.
139.
Now then, Price with a lead of 118 as Van Veen toes the hockey. And this is the chance. This is the chance. Has to go out here in 2 turns, you feel.
134.
And making inroads.
Gerwyn Price just timed this perfectly.
Should get a match levelling opportunity. Will at tops. Finds it. There's Gerwyn. And Gerwyn Price comes back from a couple adrift to square it off at 4 each. Now now with the throw in leg 9 and 11 if he needs it. As he looks to tee up a tie against his Welsh World Cup teammate, Johnny Clayton.
And whilst we waxed lyrical about the standard of play that we saw in the Pro Tour from Gerwyn Price, which included the 117 average, a 111 average, it was sublime that day. He's having to find a way of trying to win in a different kind of manner. It's a real attribute that every dart player needs, especially at the top level.
And in saying that, it's a dartboard on a wall wherever it's played, but it's a very different kettle of fish from the sanitised cathedral-like atmosphere of a PDC Pro Tour event behind closed doors to a jam-packed arena in Antwerp when the crowd are going berserk and there's noise and there's everything that goes around it.
Absolutely.
Well, Van Veen has got a chance to regain the lead, albeit a very difficult one, which would have to culminate on the bullseye. But Price hasn't left anything that can be construed as a gimme either.
1-3-1, difficult combination finish.
Well, it went the old school way when many now would be looking 51. The tops. Oh, it's a beautiful opening salvo from Van Veen. 8-8 with 2 in hand. This is a big moment.
48.
Talk about big moments. This is another one.
You supposed to set your watch by Gerwyn Price on tops. Could be time he and please, because Gerwyn Price goes in front for the first time. Correct me if I'm wrong, Laura, but Van Veen at one point was 4 for 4 on double. So he's missed his last 4 since then, and Price has been allowed to reel him in and now take the lead for the first time.
You're absolutely correct. Finishing we saw in the early stages of the match, they just seemed to have deserted Van Veen. Everything he can in his power, including a second maximum, to get back to level terms.
Well, Gerwyn Price will have the darts in the 11th and final leg if we get that far. And last week he was in a similar situation against Humphries and he couldn't get it done. Match darts were missed by both players before Coolhand Luke swooped.
92, in your 116.
18. We'll be back for another 3 at least. But it's going to have to get a wriggle on because Price is right behind him.
Should be a good guide. Uses it really well, levels things up at 5 apiece. It was a second consecutive week that Gerwyn Price goes the distance in the quarterfinals.
Well, you talk about catastrophic starts to deciding legs. It's difficult to think of anything much worse. He's effectively given Van Veen the throw in the decider. Well, Gerwyn Price, I think, will regard that Kurt Bevins should have said only before 81, because that's how Price will feel about that score. Could easily have been 140 and he would have felt that he was been completely buried.
Especially after Van Veen just found that perfect first treble, as he's done again here.
140.
Well, Price was staring down both barrels after that opening visit, but he's now firing his own bullets. Well, Van Veen is just in front, but now only just. So this leg is now on a knife edge as Price finds 2 big trebles to heat the heat on Gian van Veen.
Massive reaction for a massive score. He knows he'll be back. This is for the match.
3.
Well, can he get it done this week? He couldn't get it done last week. He couldn't get it done against Littler in the Masters. Gonna have to use the 16 segment to leave one dart and one dart only at the bullseye. Oh, it could not have been closer without going in.
You heard it clip the wire.
Junior equalizer 84.
Van Veen to win. He's going to get one dart himself. And it will be at the very same target. Well, this is Premier League darts. This is Gerwyn Price trying to win in the Prem for the first time this year. Double 12. Zoning in. Those eyes like chips of ice, and the Iceman comes back off the canvas. Downs Van Veen in a thriller, in a last leg shootout. He was behind the whole match, edged in front when it really mattered, and set